So this chapter starts off with a detour because we thought we were going to be getting into Yuji and Higuruma taking on Sukuna. But no, we're actually cutting away to what's going on in other areas of the Culling game. Aside from that concentrated area, where Gojo died. And we're seeing another woman, ? Sorcerer? And she kind of looks like Uro. And Uro, of course, is one of Akotsu's opponents from the Sendai colony. She had like that sky manipulation ability. I originally thought that this was her, but it is not. And it's possible that it's her sister or something, maybe. I mean, like I said, they look very similar. They're both reincarnated sorcerers, so that is possibly the case. But this sorcerer is not like Uro at all. She actually seems to be somewhat of a good guy, I guess. I mean, I guess the implication here is that she didn't want to kill people. And we see her running away from Kenjaku because before the Gojo versus Sukuna fight started, Kenjaku said that he was going to go out to the Culling game and take out the rest of the lingering players. Because he made a rule that the Culling game will end when only Megumi and Geto are the final players, since Kenjaku and Sukuna are in their bodies. And we're seeing that play out here with Kenjaku going after this, like I said, ? Woman sorcerer, and I'll get into that. And he quickly takes her out with like this water curse spirit, just drowning her while it's floating. And Kenjaku reveals that he knows the location of most of the players, especially the ones that he brought into the game himself, because he placed cursed items in them, like the reincarnated sorcerers. So he'll always be able to track their location. I doubt that there is one in Sukuna because, it would be in Yuji, which I guess, in theory, Kenjaku would have Yuji's location at all times, which is interesting. I'm sure that's going to come back into play considering that it's being mentioned here, but I don't think this applies to Sukuna. And even if Sukuna had something in him somehow, he would just know about it and rip it out. And he also notes how it's interesting that everyone is staying inside of the colonies and not leaving, and he assumes it would be tiresome to get integrated into the new future society. And I guess that's possible, but it's honestly just more convenient for Gege to have all of the players still inside of the colonies, so he doesn't have to explain any unaccounted for players. Like, we don't want to run into a Hunter x Hunter Gyro situation here, or do we? But Hazunoki suddenly shows up. We haven't seen this guy in a very long time. He was like the right-hand man of Reggie, who was Megumi's original Culling Games opponent. And Kenjaku asks Hazunoki to be his friend. And Hazunoki says he's already dead, referring to the sorcerer that Kenjaku was talking to. And I don't know if this is like a typo or it's Gege straight up saying that this individual that we're seeing here is a man. I don't know if he is doing that or if this is a typo. It's probably just a typo, unless Gege is just trying to make a more interesting character here, I suppose. Why not? I mean, they have a couple panels of screen time and they die, so make a meal out of it. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Private Internet Access. Private Internet Access is a virtual private network, or a VPN for short, which hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. And believe it or not, Private Internet Access also provides a tool that can help anime fans. And I'll get more into that later, but Private Internet Access is also a tool that helps you with your everyday life. Because whenever you connect to the internet on a public Wi-Fi network, your data is at risk of being stolen. That's why Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection through their world-class server infrastructure, which makes your information shielded and bulletproof. You can also now use one Private Internet Access subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices at the same time. But that's not all, because Private Internet Access also allows you to access region-restricted content from all over the world. Guys, we all love anime on this channel, and streaming services are notorious for region blocking certain anime. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, because Private Internet Access helps you overcome these restrictions by giving you the option to change your IP address to one of their 84 countries to choose from, as well as all 50 US states, allowing you to gain access to websites and services that are only available in those locations. It's a great time to get Private Internet Access because Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is currently airing. And if you already have Netflix like most of us, you don't have to go out of your way to get another streaming service just to be able to watch it. Because with Private Internet Access, you can just switch your VPN to Japan and boom, you instantly have access to all of the new Jujutsu Kaisen and Big 3 episodes. So guys, you can get Private Internet Access by clicking my link in the description, and by doing that, you're also going to get an 83% discount on Private Internet Access. That's just $2.03 a month, and you'll also get 4 extra months completely free. Thanks, guys. But Kenjaku asks Hazanoki to like be his friend, which is interesting. I guess he's getting bored or something. And he's like, yeah, you must not bore me and you must be equal to me, which obviously Hazanoki is not. And Hazanoki declines his offer, which was just nonsense anyway. It's not like he was literally going to become his friend. And then Kenjaku like pulls out his phone and starts watching Gojo versus Sukuna. It is being live streamed by Meimei through her crows, and he sees the moment where Sukuna kills Gojo. And he says, I see an expansion of the technique's target. Ah, what a great expression. So what I think he's talking about here is Sukuna's expression of love. Because, you know, we saw previously Sukuna and Kashimo had like this afterlife conversation moment thing where they talked about, you know, sorcerers and their expression of love and whatnot. And Kenjaku understands that for sure. And he sees what Sukuna is doing. It's like, you know, an artist giving props to another artist, I guess, or an athlete giving props to another one. And another interesting thing here is that, like, Kenjaku and Hazanoki aren't plussed at all that Gojo has died. They're just like, yeah, business as usual. Like, we knew Sukuna was going to win. And it's like, wow. It's surprising that they're so sure of this because the audience definitely wasn't. But then he also says, then his next target is you, right, Kenjaku? And that makes me wonder, like, I do think Sukuna is eventually going to try to take out Kenjaku. Like, I don't think they're friends. They just have, like, a temporary alliance so they could both achieve the goals that they want, I suppose. But they also have binding vows in place. So Sukuna just can't instantly kill Kenjaku. Like, he needs to fulfill the binding vows and then he can kill him. Kenjaku then explains that the barrier techniques that he's using in the culling game allows him to keep track of everyone in the colonies, essentially. Because with it, he's able to see the exact amount of cursed energy in the colonies. So if somebody leaves, then he'll know for sure because the cursed energy will decrease. And also he can share vision with his curses that he has through his curse spirit manipulation, which is awesome. He also mentions that Akotsu, the quote-unquote number 2, is especially easy to know, like if he's in a colony or not, since he has such a massive amount of cursed energy compared to everyone else. You know, calling him the number 2 here, I assume, to Gojo, or when Gojo was number 1, which in real time in this chapter is just moments ago. I also like that he's bringing up Akotsu here because I think that it's very likely Akotsu will be Kenjaku's final opponent. And I have a little juicy theory about that fight because it's possible that Kenjaku might take Rika from Akotsu with cursed spirit manipulation. You know, it is mentioned in the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie and manga that that was what Geto's original plan was, and it never came to fruition. And usually when things are set up like that in battle manga, it's because they're going to happen. So it's possible that Gege was just doing an extremely slow burn here. And it ultimately winds up with Kenjaku taking Rika, not Geto. But, you know, that's a long time from now. We'll see what happens. He also mentions Maki, saying that it's still dangerous. You know, despite him knowing all of the information and everyone in these colonies, he still can't account for Maki, who can just invisibly, you know, to a sorcerer's perception, go through these colonies, and she can just sneak up on Kenjaku and just take his head off. Which, you know, very likely could happen to any of these sorcerers. Like, Maki is really dangerous right now if she gets the jump on you. And you're not Sukuna, of course. Obviously, Sukuna has no problems against her, we saw. But anyway, Kenjaku immediately tries to take out Hazanoki because he's thinking that he's stalling for time and waiting for help. And it's like, that is a possibility. And it probably is the case here. Hazanoki, to some extent, is working with the other sorcerers, maybe. There's a lot of stuff that's going on off panel, or at least it's implied, that we're not really privy to. And neither are the villains here, which makes it even more intriguing. And before Kenjaku takes out Hazanoki for good, he reveals what his plan is. And he says, I'm ending the culling game by killing all the players, and using that as a binding vow, I will activate a massive simultaneous merging with Tengen, who has become an ascended being. So yeah, we've heard this before. This is what Kenjaku's ultimate plan is. And I really don't think there's any secrets here, or at least what he's saying on the surface. Maybe the motives of why he is ultimately doing it and what it connects to with other people hasn't been revealed yet. But what he says with why he wants to do it, you know, finding out if something is interesting, I think that is the case because that is Kenjaku's character. Like, he's just I guess a mad scientist. And his ultimate goal is to just make this ultimate perfect life form art project thing. Maybe this is Kenjaku's expression of love. A plan that took 1,000 years to cultivate, only for him to end the world through his artistic expression of love using jujitsu. And I also think Sukuna is connected to this. Like, Kenjaku's plan to merge Japan with Tengen and create this big ultra god curse entity is probably for Sukuna to fight. I'm going to make another video about that, explaining it from start to finish, whenever Jujutsu Kaisen is on break again. But TLDR, I think that's what this is all for. And why Sukuna has been entertaining Kenjaku all this time. But we're coming into the end of the chapter here, because after Kenjaku takes out Hazanoki, Takaba shows up. And this is super exciting because I've been waiting to see Takaba get his hands dirty. So when Kenjaku sees Takaba, he starts pondering like, wait, he's coming alone? Like, did he get here by Mei? Because Kenjaku also says in this chapter that Mei's brother probably has a spatial teleportation technique. Because during Shibuya, Mei and her brother go from like Shibuya to Malaysia instantly. So yeah. So it's possible that he just dropped off Takaba here. Because like I said before, there's some off-panel stuff going on. And it could relate back to that time skip that we had while Gojo was preparing for Sukuna. Maybe all of the plans were set up there and this was a part of it. It was like, yeah, we're going to have Takaba go against Kenjaku because I guess during that time they found out what Takaba's abilities were. And what his abilities are come through his curse technique, which is called Comedian. And when he comes up with something that he's certain will be funny, it becomes reality. It's a curse technique capable of opposing even Gojo. That's the narrator saying that, not me. But when it comes to his own curse technique, he's utterly clueless. So I assume that he's still unaware of what his curse technique is and how it fully works. But it seems like the others are aware of it. Because why else would they send him against Kenjaku unless he's coming here of his own volition and he's just randomly coming across the number 2 big bad? But it also is worrying Kenjaku. He's like, you know, it's creepy if they just chose him as the one to take him down. And he just instantly shoots like one of his curses at him. I think it's like the centipede one, thinking that he just took him out. And he's like, I don't even have interest in these awakened type of sorcerers. Because Kenjaku only put these individuals in, like Higuruma, Takaba, to fill the player count. And I guess he just thought it would be fun to transfigure a human and see what kind of curse technique they would develop. Because clearly he doesn't know what Takaba has, but he does know what Higuruma has. You know, deadly sentencing, which he says that he's interested in. I am too. I can't wait to see somebody on trial. But it turns out this didn't affect Takaba at all. I mean, yeah, it makes like a crater around him, but he comes out of it in comical fashion. And he's like, I'm not going to forgive you now. I'll slam you in jail. You better prepare yourself. And Kenjaku's just flabbergasted. He's like, this is a new sensation. It's not that my attack didn't affect him, but it like retroactively did not affect him. Which means that Takaba's curse technique for sure has activated here. And as it says, when he comes up with something that he's certain will be funny, it becomes reality, meaning that he is literally manipulating reality. This is one of the craziest curse techniques in the series, if not the straight up craziest. It's so much different from the other ones that it's like an anomaly in the jujitsu world, I assume. Now, I don't know how far this could go. I don't know, like, if he just thinks it would be funny if he can create like a attack similar to Sukuna's and then just erase Kenjaku with it, or even just fire a beam from the sun to Kenjaku. You know, things like that. I don't know how far it can go, but I'm assuming it goes pretty far, since what Kenjaku is saying here is that it retroactively made it so that his curses didn't affect Takaba at all. And there's no rhyme or reason to it except that Takaba's ability just rewrote reality to favor him. And the ultra mega genius Kenjaku is even flabbergasted by this. He's never experienced anything like this before. So that goes back to what I was saying about how this is an anomaly in the jujitsu world, like truly a variant curse technique if there ever was one. And then the chapter ends with Takaba saying, in this world, there's like a lot of things to be excited over. And the number one thing is when the nobody who's just there to fill space steals the room and gets massive laughter, right? And I think that's foreshadowing, because him saying getting massive laughter plays into his ability. And obviously Takaba, being a failed comedian, is always searching for that room-killing joke. And since he's terrible, only he will laugh at it, but that's the only thing that matters because he only has to find humor in it for the ability to work. So whatever it is, it's really gonna wreck Kenjaku, I assume, or his plans in general. I don't think Takaba is going to completely take out Kenjaku here because, like I said previously, I think that's reserved for Akotsu. So whatever Takaba does here, I think will make him look great. I just hope it doesn't wind up with him dying, because that would really suck. It's like, yeah, I get it, Gege. You're not afraid to kill off characters, and I respect it. But you have to kind of draw a line, and I think the line is at Takaba. Like, honestly, I'd rather a Kotsu die than a Takaba. I know that's blasphemous. And that's no slight against a Kotsu. I love the guy just as much as the rest of you, but Takaba needs to be protected. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments. And if you liked it, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.